Hey all, thanks for tuning in to my second video here. I am going to be running back the same list that I played last league in this league. It's the entire same 75 of this Cephalid Breakfast deck. And we're going to hope to use Cephalid Illusionist and Nomads in Core or Shuko to basically mill our whole deck and play a Thassa's Oracle using Dread Return. That's the plan A of the deck, and it's really powerful and it can go off turn 2. In the event that that's not what I want to do, I have access to 4 copies of Nadu. That is another really busted combo with those same 0 mana activations like Nomads in Core. And it's going to be a really fun time no matter which way I go about it. As far as this particular list, I'm really liking a heavy suite of graveyard hate, including a Surgical Extraction, Fairy Macabre, Ghost Vacuum, and Agatha's Soul Cauldron. All of those help to present a really strong anti-graveyard plan against things like Oops All Spells and Reanimator. And today's July 1st. It's the day after the ban announcement where there was no ban for Legacy, so you can expect to see those cards. And in fact, Oops All Spells have been missing from the leagues for weeks, but it's really back. Like, I played it a ton today and yesterday. So we'll see if that comes up in this league. But apart from that, the sideboard is really geared towards slowing down faster combo decks or removing tempo threats. And between those 3 elements of game plans that we're covered for, this deck will really shine, I think, in those matchups. So hopefully the league turns out well, and thank you for watching. Here I am in the first match of the league on the play. And my hand, I think, is a mulligan. Having just 1 land that can be wastelanded is not too good. So I'm going to put this back. This is a lot better. It's still not great. I think I'm going to bottom the Shuko and hope to get that back via the Urza Saga. My opponent is mulligan to 6 as well, and maybe they'll mull deeper. Let's see. So we're both starting with 6, and I'm going to use this Flood Strand to get a basic island and ponder. I really can't afford to get wastelanded off of colored mana, and even though I'll need more colors to execute my game plan, most likely I think this is the best thing to do. Brainstorm, Tamiyo, and Thassa's Oracle. I think this is acceptable. I'm going to do it like this, and if they Thoughtseize me and take the Tamiyo, that's fine. I think the Brainstorm is more important than the Tamiyo, but maybe I'll get to play a nice value Tamiyo game. Alright, my opponent is using Green Sun Zenith to get a Dryad Arbor. So, Tropical Island, Dryad Arbor, this is very likely some sort of Nadu deck as well. I was not tempted to daze that. I think that against decks like this, you don't really want to fight them on their mana unless you sense that they're really tight on mana. And I really don't know how my opponent is doing in that regard just now. So I know the top card of my library is Thassa's Oracle. And it's tempting to go Tamiyo Saga, but if I do that, that guarantees I won't get to make any constructs because I know that next turn I'm missing my land drop unless I cantrip. So I'm actually tempted here to cast Ponder again and see what I find. All right, more lands is perfect. I'm going to keep the Flooded Strand. I'm going to play the Flooded Strand this time, get a Tundra, and cast Tamiyo. It'll be interesting to see if my opponent is wanting to address the Tamiyo, if they have removal. Let's just see what they do. It's really nice to be passing the turn with Force of Will in hand Hopefully they don't have an Allosaurus Shepherd or something like that. All right, Springheart Nantuko. This means that they have another land coming and they're going to start making insects. It's fine. I'm not going to daze that. If I don't end up using this daze, I can at least pitch it to Force of Will. And the Springheart Nantuko just isn't that threatening. I think what I'm doing is so much more powerful, and if this Tamiyo flips, then all these insects are pretty worthless, so just not that concerned. Alright, opponent has a Nomads in core. And this is dazeable. I think I will daze this. Because next turn they could have Nadu played around daze. And while I'll probably want to force the Nadu as well, I think this is acceptable. Hedge Maze is not a fantastic draw, but at least I get to make a clue. And especially because I have the Hedge Maze, I think I will Brainstorm. If I don't get a fetch land, I at least get to clear one card. And flipping this Tamiyo means that these can't really do anything. So here we go, Brainstorm. All right, well, those were some nice cards to see there. I definitely like having a combo. I wish that I was going to have Force of Will backup. It would really stink if I have to Force of Will pitch Cephalid Illusionist on something. Let me think first about what cards to put back. I think the answer is I would like to put back lands in some fashion. I think the basic and the Hedge Maze. Now I get to plus the Tamiyo. And then I think I'll play out Urza Saga, because if I do have to pitch the Force of Will, pitch Cephalid Illusionist to Force of Will, Saga presents a secondary game plan that's not really where I want to be, but it's doable. Also, I'll have this clue to crack, so that's a card draw at some point. Let's see what happens, though. They might tap out for a Nadu. That would be really ideal, actually, because I don't really have to force the Nadu itself. I just have to force anything that they can abuse the Nadu with. And next turn, if they're tapped out, I'm going to minus this Tamiyo, even if they attack it with the Dryad Arbor and I have to sacrifice it just to get a blue card. It's really helpful when you're trying to win the game to have that extra -3 ability from Tamiyo. I think we get caught up in doing the ultimate and trying to win the game, but simply being able to return an instant or sorcery is quite powerful. So they have a lot of 1/1s that, again, will get -1, -0 and can't really attack. Alright, well, here's Nadu. I really hope one of their last cards is in Nomads, because if so, I have to force. But I'm going to let them have Nadu. It appears that they are passing the turn. And that's great for me. I really doubt that this deck is a Daze deck, but I will certainly play the untapped Savannah. That also will let me have Memories Journey. But let's start off with getting back this Daze and see what happens. Okay, I have the Daze. I'll play the Savannah. Here's Cephalid Illusionist. And their 2 cards had better be pretty good. I really don't know what they can have here, honestly. If they have removal, I'll Daze it. And okay, got the win. So against regular Nadu, Nadu Zenith decks, I definitely want to respect what they're doing with all the removal that I possibly could have. I love Soul Cauldron because if I force a will their nomads, I can basically get a nomads out of it. But I'll also want Pithing Needle. It's really common to have to Pithing Needle nomads, ironically, in this matchup. They didn't show me Force of Will, but I'm going to assume that they have it and substitute the Cavernous Souls for the basic planes. And apart from that, I really think I want to just keep my combo together. So I'm going to take out the Tamios. And I think on the draw, I'll take out the Dazes. If they show me a lot of graveyard hate, like the Keen-Eyed Curator or whatever else they might have, then I might sub out the combo in the third game. But for right now, I want to be multifaceted and dangerous and make them respect what I have going on. This hand is pretty bad. It's a really tempting hand to mulligan, and I really might live to regret keeping this, but it's so hard to put away a hand that just has good mana, combo pieces. Basically everything is a good top deck with this hand, despite how underwhelming it looks. So I'll keep, and hopefully the top of the deck is kind to me. If my opponent can go off super fast, they're very likely to win, but I'm willing to try it with this hand. Noble Hierarch means next turn they could already be putting a Nadu into play. Let's see. Prismatic Ending would be nice to hit this, but of course my only white source is tapped. And that's what I'm going to start with here. At least I get to threaten that next turn. And the Surveil is nice because that gives me a little bit of extra selection. I don't want another Tundra. I really want some sort of action here. And hopefully this Prismatic Ending will still be good next turn. They could possibly combo me out if they have Gaia's Cradle. They could have Sylvan Safekeeper. They do have Allosaurus Shepherd, which is quite threatening. But it appears that they are really light on mana. So actually Prismatic Ending on this Noble Hierarch is going to be great. And maybe, just maybe, I can draw out of this interesting hand. Okay, so now that I drew Ponder, I definitely want to be casting that next turn, which means I'm going to hold off on Urza Saga. I think that I'm going to trip them up pretty badly here by ending this Hierarch. And so I feel like I'm not in a rush to get this saga going. I will play Cavernous Souls after this and Shuko. Cavernous Souls will certainly name. Wizard, that's almost always what you want to name. And now I have a Shuko, and I'm sending it back to them with just one land. And no blue at that. I don't think this deck really plays cantrips, so perhaps the distinction between having blue mana and not is not as strong as it would be in my deck, but still makes me feel pretty good. They probably have a Swords to Plowshares. They probably have Graveyard Hate. I don't know. I can cast this Ponder. Another Prismatic Ending, a Flooded Strand, and a Nomads. The only card I like here is Prismatic Ending. I don't think I'm going to fire it off on the Allosaurus Shepherd because I don't have a counter spell, so it's really not a very potent card for them right now. And I will take the Prismatic Ending, and as much as I'd like to get the Saga going, I don't want those other cards, so at least I'll get to Surveil with Flooded Strand. I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Amazingly, I have only one less card in hand than my opponent. Of course, they just took a draw. But it feels like that really rough opening hand has been made up for. Alright, well now they have a good bit of mana, And I'm really glad I didn't ending their Allosaurus Shepherd because they just had another one. Now, in combat here, I might be able to get a Narcomoeba. So I'm going to fetch now. I see no reason not to. And who knows, getting to trade a Narcomoeba for Allosaurus Shepherd would be amazing. So that upside is well worth not waiting until my end step. Oh, it's just a Nadu hanging out there. That's great. And I'll take the 1. And next turn, I'll probably start with Nomads. So if they Swords Nomads, I still have Nadu and Shuko. And I already feel like this game might be pretty wrapped up here. I think stumbling over mana was a huge killer for my opponent. Who knows what amazing cards they have stuck in their hand. Hopefully they don't force Vigor in response to this Saga trigger. They didn't. So, here's a Nadu. They'll probably Swords the Nomads. I think it's so likely. Oh, they didn't have Swords. Well, then this game is just super wrapped up. I suppose all my counter spells are dead. So, if I do have to pass the turn back to them, which I'm sure I will, they will have an uncounterable Nadu or whatever. Of course, Nomads in Court is counterable. Okay, so now they're swordsing my Nadu. That was a huge mistake for them. They were supposed to swords the Nomads because now I just get all these extra cards and life is good. Okay, I think I've used all of them. Let me just double check. It always pays to double check that. But I'll get one more flip here after my Nadu is removed. And Force of Will. Okay, well, they won't be able to combo me off here. That's really great. They can get their Nadu, but they cannot Nomads. Unless they have Court of Calling, in which case they could Convoke and then have a green spell that would be uncounterable. And that would stink. I would probably lose. Nomads in Core counterable, you say. Well, I can't let you have that. Feels really great that Force of Will had some sort of target there. And I think GG's opponent, I think that was good sequencing by them in case they had, for instance, a land in their hand, because the Nomads by itself really isn't threatening. It's not really worth a Force of Will, except if they just drew the blue source, in which case they can immediately uncounterably cast Nadu. And I'm always a big fan of that, holding a land, so that if your opponent can, say, Force of Will, your Nomads, or your Shuko, or whatever it is, they don't have the full information that you can immediately kill them, or immediately combo off. So I was definitely wanting to respect that from my opponent. So anyway, GG's. Here goes round 2. I'm on the play again. Gotta love it. And this hand sucks, so that's immediately going back. You cannot keep Urza Saga as your one land, obviously. And this hand is much better. It's really tricky to know what card to put back here because I have Cephalid Illusionist and Nadu, which is a bit redundant, but those are both great cards. I'm probably going to put back the Illusionist because it's more vulnerable than Nadu. And I always err on the side of caution, so I'll put back the Illusionist. I'll play the Flooded Strand so that I'm holding up Daze. And ideally, I'll get to simply fetch a Surveil at end of turn before I cast Brainstorm next turn. But let's see what the opponent is up to. I could have to Daze something immediately. Planar Nexus. Okay, Expedition Map. So this is probably a Cloud Post deck. I'm wondering if I should Daze this. I think no. I don't really want to get set back on lands. I actually want to get this Nadu out and combo as quickly as possible. And Daze could always be a card I put back with Brainstorm. So I'll let them have the Expedition Map. I'm going to choose to believe that it's safe to fetch a dual land. Tamiyo. I can immediately flip Tamiyo if that's relevant. I don't think it is, though. I think it's very likely next turn I'm going to want to get Saga going. I'm going to put Tamiyo into the graveyard. I don't really feel like it fits into my plan. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, is that Tamiyo is obviously an amazing card, but it's used almost as a bit of a distraction for the opponent. And don't let Tamiyo distract yourself from your main game plan. So I'm going to cast this Brainstorm, and immediately, so I have Shuko, I have Nomads. I don't think Swords to Plowshares is going to be great, and I don't think I really need this Urza Saga. I will hold on to the Days, just in case of emergency. But I'm going to play out Nomads and see what my opponent has to say about that. They might have Disruptor Flute main deck, but I'll still have Shuko. Obviously, them putting the Flute on Nomads is worse, but it might prevent them from developing their own game plan. And so I think that's an acceptable trade-off. Maybe it's the Cavern that I should put back, not the Saga, now that I'm thinking about it, because I don't think they're going to have Wasteland, and they're certainly not going to have counter spells. So let me fetch this. I have to fetch Savannah. I'm really hoping they don't have Wasteland. I'm basically assuming that they will not with how I've fetched, because the ability to take me off of blue mana would be really devastating. So this fetch land situation, how I've resolved them, is a bit of a tempo play rather than a really secure mana situation. Okay, so they're passing the turn here with 3 mana up, which means they can Disruptor Flute around a Daze, which sucks since I have Daze. But putting Nadu in play is just too good. So show me the Flute opponent, or the game is over. Yeah, there you go. So they probably were just going to crack the map and needed more mana. I think this is a Cloud Post deck. I don't think that Expedition Map is played in, for instance, Mystic Forge decks, and I don't think that lands decks really play Nexus anymore since the banning of Sowing Mycospawn. So I'm going to assume this is Cloud Post. Now, I don't have amazing things to say about Cloud Post with my sideboard, but it's a little bit like Mystic Forge. It's going to have the One Ring and Karn most likely, and Swords is going to be the worst card, so I'll take those out. Yes, they could have maybe like a Thought-Knot Seer. They could have Glaring Fleshraker. I think those cards are typically too slow if I really have what I need. Thought-Knot Seer would stink, but until I see it, I'm certainly not going to have Plows in. So I want Prismatic Ending, I want Force of Negation, and I want Consigned to Memory. I am going to assume that this is a deck that has Karn, and whenever there's a deck with Karn, I don't think Tamiyo is very good. I like to go down to 1 Shuko. I do want to find room for this Pithing Needle. And I typically cut a Plains against Mystic Forge. I think, though, I'm going to cut a Daze. So that'll be my list. So now in game 2, I'm on the draw. This hand looks great. I have Force of Will, I have a combo piece, and Urza Saga can get the other piece with my 1 of Shuko. And likely, though, if I had to force something on turn 1 or 2, I likely would pitch the Illusionist, because Brainstorm is just too good. Obviously, I'll see what the top of the deck has in store. My opponent is mulled to 6, and they're looking at their potential 6-card hand now. All right, so they're good on 6. Starting with Urza Saga. Okay, well, one thing that's frustrating about them starting with Urza Saga is it means that Grim Monolith is fine, by the way. It means that they're going to have Pithing Needle before I get to put in a really good thing with an activated ability. And so whenever there's an Urza Saga that can pop and get a Pithing Needle, it's always good to hold whatever that is. All right, turn 1 Karn is pretty powerful, but, well, Force of Will answers that. So this means next turn, depending on if they have any more mana, they might not get to even make constructs. Because if this last card and whatever they draw can't untap, give them a mana to untap Grim Monolith, then they're just stuck. Alright, another land, not great, but hey, that's why I kept the Brainstorm. It's going to fix this hand up real nice. I'm going to start with this Flooded Strand, fetch a Surveil, and have the maximum possible selection for this Brainstorm. Even if they can make constructs, it's not the end of the world. Oh my goodness, and they can't. So that just feels great. I will certainly let this resolve before I play even out my Saga. I don't want to give them any heads up. Consign to Memory is good. That's going to counter their next thing. That's a very potent sideboard card in this situation. So this is going to work out really nicely. This is going to pop before they even see the Saga. I get to Brainstorm with a fetch land. This is lining up really well. And that was a great Brainstorm. I'm just going to get rid of the dual lands, play this Flooded Strand, and pass to the opponent, holding up Consign, holding up Force. I certainly will let the Saga search for something. I'm not going to consign that trigger. Consign really has to hit a haymaker like One Ring, Mystic Forge, or Karn. I would almost dare them to Needle Flooded Strand, but I won't. Sadly, I can't afford to get Hedge Maze here because I want to keep holding up Consign. And since that'll be coming soon, I'm going to get another Tundra. And let's see what they find here. I think they have to get something that's mana related. They seem like they're tripping up on their mana pretty hard. I don't think they can afford to Pithing Needle anything that I have, but I didn't want to give them the option. So they have mana enough to cast something scary, and it looks like that's what's happening here. And hopefully Consign to Memory will blow that out. Alright, they're casting a big spell. It really is amazing how much mana these decks can create. But they could spend up to, what, 9 mana here? And it's going to get countered by a 1 mana spell. Let's see if they play around Daze at least. It looks like they are playing around Daze. So I guess a good way to play around Ugin, Eye of the Storms, is not having any colored permanents that they can counter. So that's, or that they can exile. Totally fine, and I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna say no to that giant Ugin there. And now next turn they don't really have a lot going on. I'm starting to feel like this is pretty wrapped up. Let's go ahead and start this Saga going. I want to progress towards the end of the game, and I still have Force of Will up, and even if I have to pitch the Illusionist, the Saga presents a pretty reasonable clock and alternate game plan. So let's just see what they do. Looks like, again, they're going to get to put something on the stack here, and it looks like that's what's happening. So I might be saying goodbye to all the spells in my hand here. Let's see. Glaring Fleshraker. You can have Glaring Fleshraker. That's fine. This is a trap to force this. I think that this card is simply, on its own, not good enough to beat what this deck has going on. Now, given the option to Prismatic end something here rather than make a construct, I think I'll do that, because getting rid of this Grim Monolith means they just have nothing. And I like that. So, goodbye Grim Monolith. I'll get to Surveil. And on the Surveil, I'm pretty much looking for any blue card, though it'll also be tempting to simply keep a card that's not Dread Return or Narcomoeba or something like that, so that I can ensure that my combo will go off. See, now this creature is just attacking for 2, and while it can get totally out of hand, it only gets out of hand with probably Mystic Forge. That's really the thing you have to worry about the most. If they don't have Mystic Forge, just let them have their Fleshraker. Force of Negation, a blue card, so I will keep that. And I can even hard cast that. Though, I probably want to hold up Memory's Journey. So it has to be pretty intimidating to them there that I did not make a construct. And it should be, because I think they're about to lose the game. So I'll get a drop. And I will cast Cephalid Illusionist. And let's see what they have. I bet they have something. I bet one of their cards... I guess not. Alright, GG. I do think that this matchup... So it wasn't really Cloud Post, it was Mystic Forge. And so my sideboarding was like 1 card off from what I think is ideal. But you can see it's a pretty good matchup. This deck, Mystic Forge, if you can force 1, maybe 2 key things, it falls apart. So it's really important to know which things those are. For instance, if I had forced this Glaring Fleshraker, maybe I still would have won this game, but I'd be going much more insecurely into this. I would only have Force and Negation, it turns out, but maybe I wouldn't have even had that. So you definitely have to use your forces wisely. Round 3, I am on the draw, and I'll be curious to see what my opponent does. This hand is good in a fair matchup, and I'll likely keep it. It's not a super exciting hand, but it does have Cephalid Illusionist. It does have a route to Shuko. I have all of my colors. I have a fetch land. I have 1 piece of removal in case they do a Tamiyo or something like that. So I think this is totally fine. I could obviously die to a quick combo, but I'm going to try it. Alright, my opponent has played a Chalice on 0. Interesting. What deck goes Island, Chalice on 0? Well, I'm very grateful that they didn't go Chalice on 1, and just in time I drew a Shuko to not allow that. Man, I'm stumped. I think this could be like a Thassa's Lash, Thought Lash, Paradigm Shift kind of deck. Be nice to have the Memory's Journey in that situation in case I can spoil that somehow, though usually those cards end up in exile. Yeah, I think this feels okay. Hopefully this Shuko's fine. I think I'll start on the island. There's no reason not to. I really like my opponent's island. I'm Mercadian Masks. I have a whole bunch of these old sort of pre-modern set islands. Actually, all basic lands. I have a whole bunch of like foil versions of those. I think they're really sick. So good choice, opponent. Here's a Shuko. The jig is up right away. But against a deck like this that goes like a turn 1 Chalice, I don't know. I'm tempted to just go for it next turn. Let's see. Let's see what they do. Is this Chalice on 1? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad I decided to get the Shuko in there. So I think what I should do is... Now it's kind of awkward that I have the Memory's Journey here. But I think what I'm supposed to do is play the Misty and fetch a green source, fetch Trop, go for it, and next turn on my upkeep cast Memory's Journey in the event that, let's say, they force the Dread Return. They might just force the Illusionist, but I think it's worth it to do this. And the reason why I want to play this land rather than Tundra is I just want to get the actual mana sources out of my deck before my deck becomes my graveyard. And in case Memory's Journey gets forced next turn, I can flash it back. So, Misty, fetch, and I want to get a Trop because if casting Thassa's Oracle is in my future, I want all the blue sources I possibly can. And let's just go for it. They're tapped out. They're playing something weird. Could be Merfolk. Let's see. I appear to be starting the winning the game formation here. And let's see. I always want to... I'll save targets and then always yield. And Already have a Narcomoeba. And let's see what happens here. I feel like this is at least like 90% likely to just win the game right now. They could have Force of Negation, but I don't know. I'm really confused by my opponent's deck. It's definitely some spice. Interestingly, you'll notice my opponent is not F6ing, and they haven't even yielded themselves. Like, if you're going off, if you're playing against Cephalid Breakfast on Magic Online, you want to yield to these triggers so that it gives the appearance that you're F6'd, and then you want to keep your hand right on that OK, so that when Narcomoebas flip, it looks like you're F6'd as well. And then maybe you can have Graveyard Hate. Just a little trick to improve your odds of winning against Cephalid Breakfast. Maybe I shouldn't give intel like that. I do like to win after all. All right, I think the most likely thing here is they're just crazy bluffing with the way that they're doing this, and I think I'm about to win. But if not, I have Memory's Journey. We have a turn after this, so let's see. My opponent is definitely taking time on this Dread Return. All right, you see. Okay, so I'm a little in the blind here about what my opponent has going on, though I suspect it's like a paradigm shift deck. They're a blue deck, so I like Cavern. I like Pithing Needle. That can needle Thought Lash. If not, there's probably something it can hit. I like Prismatic Ending as it's a Chalice deck, and I like Force of Negation and Consign to Memory against Chalice. A cool Consign to Memory trick, I've never even done it myself, I've just heard of it. But apparently if there's a Chalice on one, you can cast Consign to Memory with Replicate into the Chalice. And your Consign is countered, but the Replicate copies are good to go. And so you can still counter something even with Chalice on one in play. I hope to do that at some point. Maybe I'll even do it in this next game. So as far as cuts go, I think Memory's Journey is a safe cut. I think Tamiyo is a safe cut. I don't know if they have Wasteland. They could have Harbinger of the Tide. Could be like a little blue prison sort of thing they have going on. I definitely don't think I want these plows. But everything else I kind of want. I'll cut 2 more Ponders to get down to 60 cards. If they Chalice me, Ponder obviously sucks. So let's do it like that. I may end up wanting the Soul Cauldron. In fact, I think I will bring in the Soul Cauldron rather than a Ponder. Just feels like that might have some sort of relevance. They could Chalice on one and I could just play my Nomads into a Chalice if I have Cauldron, or just use it to some effect. That card has a surprising amount of utility. It's a little Planeswalker all to itself in a 2-mana artifact. Alright, this hand's good. If they Chalice turn 1, I have Prismatic Ending to get rid of it. I have Brainstorm to put back Dread Return and a Ponder. So no real game plan, and if they have some sort of quick combo, then I'm in trouble. But maybe they won't. Alright, my opponent has started off with Soporific Springs that they shocked in and said go. Makes me think they have something they want to cast with that. Or maybe they respect what I have going on. They might have a Force of Will and want to play around Daze. Right on cue, I did draw the Daze. I'm going to start with Hedge Maze, and next turn I'll have Brainstorm and the fetch lands still. I won't worry about pondering just now. I don't think there's anything I'm too concerned about them being able to do turn 2. Next turn I can also Prismatic Ending if they Chalice, and I'll have the Daze to back that up. So here we go. Cavernous Souls, I just need, as good as that is, I just need some sort of combo piece. So a land is not very enticing. All right, my opponent has Lorien revealed, so that explains why they shocked that in. Getting a basic island. I do think this is the paradigm shift deck because they usually do have Chalice and avoid 1-drops, and they can't run Brainstorm, ironically, because that... ooh, wow, they have a different Mercadian Masks island there. I'm going to say nice islands to my opponent. Alright, so holding up 2 blue here. I'm going to Brainstorm before I play the fetch land. It is important that it resolves because Dread Return is in hand, but they just haven't shown me on. Alright, so we're definitely getting a new Dread Return. And then another Cavern showed up. I just said how unappealing that is. But now that I have the other stuff, I'm going to put back Cephalid Illusionist because they've started really passively, which means I think they have a lot of interaction. And if there's anything that they are more likely to have, it's graveyard hate, whereas Nadu just doesn't worry about the graveyard. So let's see if we can give them some dead cards there. I'll put back Dread Return, I'll put back Cephalid Illusionist, I'll play Misty Rainforest, and hold up Consign through their next turn. Somehow I feel like this deck could go like Ancient Tomb, One Ring even, so definitely want to show it some respect. Impulse, alright, yeah. I do wonder, like, this deck, obviously it's not a very popular deck, there's not a lot of innovators for it, but is there a reason why it doesn't just run Brainstorm and Ponder? Like, don't worry about the chalices, just have good cantrips, not, you know, pre-modern cantrips, though it does nicely match your islands aesthetically, but I just feel like they could just do that. Just have better cantrips, a better plan A game plan, and you're set. Alright, paradigm shift. I can't daze it, I can't consign it. Next turn though, they'll have Thassa's Oracle, and I'll have replicated consign backed up with daze. That feels pretty good. So, sure. I mean, I have nothing to say about it. I feel rolled up though. They would have to have a pretty good answer to triple replicated consign backed up by daze. And that has to be just one more strike against this deck, is that uncounterable Thassa's Oracle is just not as good as it was, what, a year ago before Modern Horizons 3? So I'm going to fetch Meticulous Archive, I'll Surveil. I think to complete my thought though about running Brainstorm and Ponder, I'm guessing this deck doesn't do it because they have no reason to have fetch lands. But if you look at a deck like High Tide does run fetch lands even though it's mono blue. So if there's anybody watching this who's a big fan of this Thassa's Lash list, maybe you can put in the comments what your rationale is for that list. All right, I don't need another land. All right, so I will just play, I'll play the Savannah and hold up triple replicate, or double replicate, triple consign total, and let's see what happens. What would stink is if they had double Thassa's Oracle. Like if they can Oracle on consecutive turns, all right, I'll give it to you. And I do think this deck runs maybe even okay. I just won. What on earth? Well, GG. All right, round 4, I'm on the play. I have played against this person really recently, and I don't 100% remember what they're on, and it might just be the Scythe Cat Cub picture that's tripping me up here, but I think they're on like a Scythe Cat Cub green-black deck, which I think is a really good matchup. I just don't think they do enough, especially against the Nadu game plan. It might be good against Graveyard, but not so much against Nadu. This is a keep for sure. This is a great hand. I'll play Misty Rainforest. I have Emergency Brainstorm if I have to dig for a counter spell. I have the combo pieces. This just feels great. And if they're on what I think they're on, then I'll get to Surveil, because that deck is not a Wasteland deck. Okay, well, I was definitely wrong about what my opponent was on. And having them start with Underground Sea and no other information, I don't really want to start playing into Wasteland. I know that I'm pretty set up on mana, but it's just such a setback in the early turns to get Wastelanded, and I'll definitely have all my colors. So I'm going to fetch. I will play out the fetch land because I don't want them to daze the Brainstorm, and while it's not absolutely crucial that it resolves, I think it's somewhat important. I don't really know if I want Memory's Journey, though if this is Reanimator, that could actually be a good thing to have in hand. Maybe I should have thought a little longer before fetching. Do I want to hold up Memory's Journey through their next turn? I don't think so. I think they're really unlikely to go for it into 2 untapped lands. So I'll hold up. I will Brainstorm. Okay, Nomads, Force of Will. This is all good stuff. So I'll put back Memory's Journey. I'll put back Urza's Saga. And the most ideal situation would be that they tap out here and I can go off next turn. So I might redraw the Urza Saga. We'll just see. This next turn for them will be very telling. This could be anything. It could be Doomsday, it could be Storm, it could be Reanimator. And now they're just holding up mana. I think I'll redraw the Saga and I'll play it. I'm sure they have a Orcish Bowmasters that they're holding up. That seems super likely. And I'll let them play it out. It might even be tempting to redraw the Memory's Journey. Brainstorm on Instep does not inspire confidence because their shuffle effect is likely Entomb. And then I'll regret not having Memory's Journey in hand. That actually would have been really great. Okay. No Entomb. It'll be interesting to see if this is Reanimator, how this matchup goes. I know people are a little sour about the lack of bans just yesterday. But, you know, I think that the format will be all right. All right, Nethergoyf is a nice sign because now I know that I don't need the Memory's Journey, so I'll shuffle that away and I'll Swords this. I always like clearing, whenever it's a tempo deck, I just like clearing their threats and keeping my life total high. It would be sad if they had like a Barrowgoyf next turn, but I'm willing to risk it, and I just want to keep the board clear. Okay, so I have double combo. That's pretty cool. I think what I'll do is obviously play out my land, and they have something. I certainly won't be able to just go Nomads, Cephalid, and win. They probably have a Fatal Push. They probably have Orcish Bowmasters. There's tons of things they have. I'm going to play one Nomads, and I'm going to hold up and make a Construct. If they do have Bowmasters, I could always make the Construct and then put the damage on the Construct. It stinks by playing out the Nomads. I'm losing out on a Surveil, but I think we're just approaching the end game here, and I have enough. All right, so that's exactly what they did, and so I'm going to blow that up. Obviously, the Construct would be nice, but Nomads, obviously, just when you're holding Cephalid Illusionist in hand, is a better card to keep around. So I'll put the damage on the Construct, and that'll die instead. And now they have Bowmaster. Now, what I really hope they don't have is Kaito. Kaito would make me very sad, but I also wouldn't mind them getting a card out of hand and tapping out. So I'll let this go through. We're going to damage, so they don't have Kaito. And I would love a blue card. A blue card would be amazing. All right, we got Memories Journey. That's a blue card. So now I think what I'm supposed to do is just go Cephalid Illusionist. They'll do whatever they do. And I can play another Cephalid Illusionist. And I'm guessing that they're 5 cards, even with all that untapped mana, I think it's gonna work out. If they have removal, they have to spend it on Nomads. Because once Nomads and Illusionists are in play, there's no removing anything, right? It's you can just combo off in response. All right, what do you have to say about this? Okay, they have another Bowmaster. That's fine. They're gonna need even more than that just to stop the combo I'm presenting right now. And that's before I play the next Illusionist. So let's see what they do here. Okay, they have another Bowmaster. I like how they're tapping out. Maybe I was supposed to try to force the Bowmaster because then I'm not tapped out and now I actually have to play into Daze. So I actually think I made a slight mistake there and hopefully it's not consequential because if that had worked out then they could have a Daze in hand and that's just not live. But I guess I was feeling confident, feeling kind of rolled up. And the fact that that resolved probably means I'm going to win the game here. So save targets, always yield, and I'll start milling my deck. They are not F6ing. They may have yielded as well to the Shuko and Illusionist. That's probably what's happened because this is going by a little bit faster. And I don't have any more Narcomoeba triggers to find anything out about their status, but they would have to have like Force Plus Daze or Double Daze. And I bet they have, you know, maybe another land, maybe a Murktide. Let's go for it. And we got there. Cool. All right, so Blue-Black Tempo is definitely a tough matchup. And against Blue-Black Reanimator, I was just talking about this in the Cephalid Breakfast Discord, but I do like to board out the Breakfast combo and just be a really good Nadu deck that has all the answers needed for what they're doing. Against Tempo, I think it's more acceptable to have that, but it doesn't feel great. If you feel differently, if you play a lot of Breakfast and you have even more success against Blue-Black Tempo than I have, which I think it's like 50-50 at best, put in the comments what you do, because I think we could all benefit from a better Dimir Tempo matchup. So typically I bring all that stuff in and just cut the Dazes and the Force of Wills. And let's see, if they have an incredible abundance of graveyard hate, I will likely adjust my strategy. But it sort of feels like you want to win quickly. You want to keep them on the back foot. You don't want them to be able to like be in a comfortable position to tap out for Kaito. It really feels like once Kaito hits the table, the game's over. I think in the last league that I played on camera, almost all the losses in the league were to Kaito. It's so hard to answer. At 4 mana, you cannot Prismatic Ending. If you needle it, it still has the 3/4 body. It's just rough. All right, we have a 1-lander and some Ponders. So Island Ponder Keep, it's all good. Obviously, I'll want more lands. Interesting that they play Marsh Flats. I would have thought that all of the lands, fetch lands, would be ones that fetch blue lands. But what do I know? Thoughtseize is probably going to take Brainstorm, maybe Nadu. If they have Surgical, they could be really aggro and take Ponder and Surgical the other Ponder. That would suck. But at least it's the same number of cards out of their hand. All right, so they took Nadu. So they're going to let me cantrip. They probably have Bowmaster and felt comfortable with the Brainstorm. Okay, so drawing Tundra is interesting. I'm going to still do Misty, Island, and Ponder. It holds a little bit of information back, and while I don't think that's a great reason to sequence my lands like that, like I said in a previous match this league. I just don't want to get wastelanded in the early turns of the game. It's such a setback. So here comes Ponder. More lands. Yeah, that's good. Obviously, I don't really want Thassa's Oracle, but I'll take the Flooded Strand. And of course, I'll draw the Misty next turn. And that means I'll be able to Brainstorm next turn. Hopefully they're not holding up Bowmaster, but since I have land drops to make, I can just hold up Brainstorm and, you know, double port them for many turns. However, they are casting a cantrip here, and so I don't have to worry about Bowmaster. I think it does say something about the state of Legacy that almost anytime someone casts a cantrip, there's like this sigh of relief. I mean, obviously, Ponder's a pretty good card here. They know my hand, they get to get some selection, but now I don't have to worry about Bowmaster, and of course I still have to worry about Tamiyo, or a threat, because they have a land drop yet to make. But okay, there's the Wasteland, and what, a Nile Spellbomb maybe? Cool. Alright, well that's pretty good into my double Cephalid Illusionist hand. And I guess that begs the question, do I actually want that Thassa's Oracle on top of my deck? I think I still don't. I think I'm going to Brainstorm. And yes, I will redraw the Oracle. Interesting. Very interesting. So I think I'll probably play the Shuko this turn. This is very interesting because in the face of that Spellbomb, I have Oracle, Illusionist, and a route to milling my deck. I don't love that because there's so much they can do to stop it. But I don't know. I feel okay about it. I'll put back one Illusionist, one Ponder, which hurts. Man, is this good enough? I'm second guessing this strategy, but I think I'll try it because I think they're unlikely to do anything. I'll put back Tundra, Ponder. I think I want the two Illusionists because I still think they're likely to try to remove it. So this will get Plains and cast the Shuko. Obviously that's less intimidating for them with the Spellbomb in play, but they don't know. They don't know what's happening here. Brainstorm from the opponent. I do wonder, they probably did not have another land. Otherwise, they wouldn't have played the Wasteland like that. I think they would have rather had a fetch land or the ability to hold up, you know, a removal spell or something through my last turn. So there's some chance they could get Brainstorm locked here. No, they didn't. They're fetching now, which likely means like Nethergoyf or something like that. I think the very best draw in my deck is Cavern of Souls. Thoughtseize. All right, well, the jig is up. Let's see what they do. I bet they take Ponder. But they might have to take the Oracle. That feels like quite the win there if they Thoughtseize away my Thassa's Oracle. And they're down to 3 cards in hand. They haven't presented a threat. My life total is super high. So this feels like a good place to be in. Let me check my sideboard and see if I still have Memory's Journey or if I took that out. Because if I have Memory's Journey, I could even still possibly go off. And I do. But I don't know. That's so risky. It means I have to obviously fetch immediately. That'll get Wastelanded. It plays into Daze. And all right, they took Thassa's Oracle. Cool. So, admittedly, my Illusionists kind of suck, though, in the face of what's happening here. So my hand is not excellent. I'm definitely going to enjoy casting this Ponder. And maybe we'll find a Nadu. Saga, okay. I'll draw the Saga. I'll sandbag it. And I'll play a fetch land which will surveil and that hopefully will bait the Wasteland out. And maybe I will actually be put in a situation where I can Memory's Journey and not worry about the Spellbomb. They certainly have good cards in hand, though, to interact, because there's been no threat. Honestly, if they start tapping out for threats, that would be ideal. Like, if they spend 4 mana here to Kaito, I would definitely try next turn to combo off using Memory's Journey. And that would be a situation where, yeah, I was happy to have it back in the deck. I think I said in the last video that I went a long time without it, and a lot of times it feels just so bad, you know, to draw it when it could have been a good card. I hate bad cards, and Cephalid Breakfast plays a good number of bad cards. Okay, Nethergoyf, 2 cards in hand. I still think, as kind of painful as it is here, I think I Surveil. Because if this actually finds like Nadu or something like that, or a cantrip. All right, they're cracking in now and drawing the card. So they're saying I will not be winning with Thassa's Oracle. They're not going to give me the opportunity to do that. And they're going to get to Wasteland me here. So we'll get Meticulous Archive. Hedge Maze a little more precious as it's a green source. Yeah, come on, you're going to get to Wasteland me, I know. Cavern of Souls, I want spells. I don't want lands. Yep. Prismatic Ending. That is right on time. I'll play out the fetch land, because if they double days, I can pay for it. Cool. Yeah, right now I really just want to preserve my life total. My hand kind of sucks. Maybe Urza Saga will end up being good, and I will fetch a Hedge Maze. Oh man, they're just all wastelands over there. And they're casting something. A Barrowgoyf, okay. Yikes. Well, it's pretty imposing. I might end up losing this game. I definitely now just feel like I have to Surveil just to try to find good cards. Though it sucks that this won't tap for any mana. Nomad's not very good. I need just something better. I really need swords. This game might be turning their way. Cavern, alright. Cavern on Wizard. I will use that mana right away to cast this. And I won't equip. I may just have to chump block to avoid getting hit by this Barrowgoyf, which is already a 5/6. So obviously that's not how I wanted to use my Cephalid Illusionist, but it's just not a great situation that I'm in here. For what it's worth, it would have been tough to get the 3 mana together to Prismatic End the Barrowgoyf, so I don't feel too bad about ending the Nethergoyf, though it is clearly the inferior Goyf. I feel like this would all just be fixed with the Swords to Plowshares, of which there are 4 in the 39 cards left in my deck. Got a lot of cantrips too. If for whatever reason they decided not to Wasteland, then I would also have Nadu, but you got a Wasteland here, right? You can't let me untap with the Cavern. I think that was a smart move by my opponent to just go ahead and crack the Spell Bomb when they were able to draw a card and guarantee they got rid of my Oracle. Because once the Oracle's gone, there's no graveyard strategy that's really relevant for me, unless I had like a flipped Tameo. But it's looking, oh my goodness, 4 Wastelands. So that's pretty good. I guess I can't be mad. When your opponent draws all 4 Wastelands and you've been desperately trying to get an Urza Saga going, like you can't be that mad. They have had it, and I'll probably have my first game loss this league. Who knows, maybe they don't Wasteland me here. But especially now that they have yet another Wasteland, why wouldn't you? And I got another Barrowgoyf, so yeah, this is pretty bad. Brainstorm is my best draw, followed by Swords to Plowshares. And the reason I say Brainstorm is just so I can maybe get a Nadu. Well, there's Nadu. And Saga will definitely get destroyed right away. Here's Illusionist. It's looking bad. It's looking real bad. I'm definitely going to let them hit me, though. This is not going to be a chump illusionist, because if I do get the green source miraculously next turn, and their 2 mystery cards are not like a Daze or Force of Will or something like that, then maybe I can rebound with the amount of cards I would get off the Nadu flips with illusionist in play. So let's just see. Nadu was an excellent draw. And hopefully I can pair it with, well, they're going to get that Bowmaster back. They're going to Bowmaster my illusionist. And maybe they'll just put the Goyf down, though, now. Maybe that's what they would rather do with me on 4 life. Honestly, even getting 4 Nadu flips doesn't feel great. I think they just have it wrapped up. And yeah, good call. Now I can't even draw swords. Just has to be Nadu into some incredible flips. At least I won't draw Dread Return, right? Got milled there. Yep, looking bad. All right, I drew the swords, but that's not good enough, so on to the next one. So they had Spellbomb, they had a ton of stuff. I think it's time to get the bad cards out of my deck, and I'm going to try a pretty similar strategy to what I do versus blue-black. I'm surprised I didn't have all 3 Tamios in my deck there. That actually was probably a mistake. On the play, I'm going to run Dazes. Hopefully those stay relevant, stay good. And I'm going to take out 2 Illusionists, 3 Illusionists for Force of Wills. And I'm just going to be the best Nadu deck that I can be with the slightest hint of the Illusionist combo so that I can Oracle. I have decked myself before on games where I kept just Nadu and Nomads but had to win via combat. So Oracle is really nice. Illusionist, I think, is just better than the 4th copy of Force of Will or any card that's now in my sideboard. So hopefully this good card list will fare well. So this is a bit of an experiment here. It's not typically what I do, but I can't say that I have a fantastic all-time record against Dimir Tempo. It's a very tricky matchup. Bowmaster, obviously just one of the best cards. This deck often runs Shouldered's Edict, which is a Nadu killer, obviously, because you don't even get the trigger. And yeah, it's just so tough. So hopefully this will be a bit better equipped. I could even see Surgical Extraction over like the Illusionist, but I don't really like Surgical. I don't like to Surgical for information. That's not really my style. And I don't want to trust, yeah, got a mull. I don't want to trust that it's going to like blind hit something. Oh no. Mull to 5. Mull to 5 without breakfast combo in is really not what I wanted. Opponent's keeping 7, so this really sucks. I'm just going to put away the Brainstorm and Prismatic Ending and keep my combo pieces and just desperately hope that I can find the mana to cast them here. Shuffle. Have to find lands. Cavernous Soul is an excellent pickup. If I can just get the white source, then I won't feel so bad. If they Thoughtseize me, I'll Daze. If they play a threat, if it's like Nethergoyf, it's fine. If it's Tamiyo, I'll probably Daze. Nethergoyf is fine. Really need another land here badly. All right. So I'll get basic planes, I'll play Nomads. And even if I have to like, even if it dies and I have to play what I like to call a naked Nadu, that feels better, especially like if they push into a Daze. Not bad. So now the onus is on them to kill this right now. Unfortunately, if they do have a removal spell, Dazing would suck because then that sets me back a land, and I want my 3 lands next turn to uncounterably cast Nadu. So I'm hoping they have like Graveyard Hate. Like if they have Graveyard Hate and play that this turn, that'll feel great. If they choose to hold a Bowmaster until my next turn, I think that would be a mistake on their part, but I would be very grateful for that. Tamiyo, okay. And I'm getting a turn here. I have days. Oh my goodness. Might steal this game. Let's see. Here comes your boy. I don't feel great about this, but putting a game-winning play on the stack after a mull to 5 with days back up feels good. And even if Nomads gets countered here, or gets removed, doesn't feel terrible. All right. Let's see. If they force, they're down to 2 cards. All right, well, hopefully you don't have Edict. I would love next turn to draw either just another Nomads or Shuko, or I would love to show off Soul Cauldron. This would be such a good game for the Agatha's Soul Cauldron. But we'll see. All right, well, I'm losing my Cavern, no doubt. Hopefully it's not Wasteland me push. That would stink. And hopefully they don't have Edict. If they have Edict, it's pretty much game over. Edict plus Wasteland me would be real bad. Petty Theft. Yeah, Petty Theft also is good because Pithing Needle, sadly a little too late here. Now they can get rid of that. But hopefully I can just get Nadu back into play before they're really drawing a lot of these clue tokens. Because Tamiyo, until you start drawing the clues or flipping it, it's not good, right? So, Urza's Saga. Let's play Pithing Needle. Name Wasteland. I wish I could name Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar, but I just don't think that's good enough. Against a 1-card hand, I really want to get Nadu back on the stack ASAP. Oracle into the graveyard. So, let's see. I feel just a glimmer of hope for this game after the mull to 5. Being able to daze and them having to force was a pretty nice consolation prize. Though certainly I'm behind. I am definitely not favored from this position, but there's a chance. Like, even if I get the Nadu into play, I don't have Nomads, right? So just sort of living on a prayer a little bit. And if nothing else, they're going to start drawing cards with the Tamiyo. So it's a risky time. All right, I have my own Tamiyo. That's cool. And they'll see from how I've cast this that I have no backup for it. I'm not going to brainstorm. They haven't thought seized me, so they don't have information about what's in my hand other than Nadu. They do, actually, because that island is the card that I dazed with. So they have perfect information about my hand. So let's see. Are they considering forcing this? They're cracking a clue in response. If they forced my Tamiyo, that would be just amazing. But of course they didn't. It's going to be an easy one to remove, but if they have to spend a removal spell on Tamiyo as my Saga ticks up to Shuko, and they know about Nadu, there's a chance here. There is absolutely a chance. And if I got this against Dimir Tempo on a mull to 5, I'd be very proud of that. Keep the trophy dream alive. At the very least, Tamiyo, if it survives, will allow me to start drawing 2 a turn like they're doing. And they won't get so far ahead. I think the best card I could draw is a green source. Illusionist with no breakfast combo. And his Memory's Journey, I don't even have green, but Memory's Journey is out. So let's just go ahead and play the island. Go to combat. They might have a response. Okay, Bowmaster. All right. That's fine. Maybe what I'll do then is just keep that around and have really big constructs. Because they can't attack actually with their Nethergoyf next turn. So really they have no good attacks next turn. So I'm fine just holding that clue, and I'll save it for later because I was going to have to choose between a clue and a construct anyway. And they just made the choice for me, which is fine. So they're up to 5 cards. I'm down to 1 card. Now, if they did Thoughtseize me this turn, I bet they would certainly take the Illusionist because the Nadu doesn't look likely. Now, if I draw the green source, it's going to be very tempting to Nadu. It's going to be a very tough decision. I will probably go for it. I think the longer this game goes at this point, the more likely it is that they win. All right, we got there. So I'm going to make them show me Force of Will. If they don't have Force of Will, I'm going to win this game right now. I'm sensing it. Trop. Oh, tapped wrong. All right, do you have Force? Oh, they had Force. Maybe I should have gone Illusionist first. Maybe I should crack this clue. I think I'll crack the clue. Swords. Swords isn't bad, but obviously I would have rather had Nadu there. Dang. You know, if I had played that differently, if I had gone Cephalid Illusionist before my land drop, they probably would have forced that, which would have obviously been a complete bluff. And I'm missing a point of damage here because I should have equipped the Shuko onto Tamiyo. So a little flustered after that force and potential misplay. Dang, that kind of feels like the game. But at least I have this giant construct. And Tamiyo drawing cards. So honestly, I don't feel bad about the Bowmaster Orc Army. Obviously I can swords this as well, though I might have to spend the swords on Tamiyo. Let's just see. Best draw on my deck is another Nadu. If it comes down to it, I will play that Illusionist out without having access to my combo. Just see if they scoop to it. Like if they're Hellbent and I'm Hellbent and I'm dead or something, I'll just play it out. See what they do. I would rather get the win. Would stink if they remove the construct because then I'm pretty close to dead. They can have like a Murktide here. Spellbomb, sure. That's basically a cycle. And they attack with Tamiyo. And they just have too many clues. Like if they have another land next turn, they could, you know, crack 2. But they're like clue flooded. Another land. Let's see. I think I want to go to combat and attack with Tamiyo. Then I'll play out my land. Swords the Bowmaster. And if they want a Bowmaster in response to cracking a clue, or if they fetch, basically I can crack both my clues in response to their fetch land. So, Swords the Bowmaster. They could force this. Okay, so actually, if they have Bowmaster and they do it now, that's pretty good sequencing because then I never get to crack the clues around the Bowmaster. Yeah, good. Well, okay, they're drawing a card. Okay. Maybe trying to find a Force of Will. Okay. So I'll crack the clue. And I'm going to crack another clue. Go to 7, which doesn't feel great. Get another green source, Savannah. Shouldn't matter too much with the needle on Wasteland, but never know. Now my Tamiyo has actually flipped. So they have that to contend with. I have a 4-3. I have a flipped Tamiyo. I can start getting cards back. Of course, they have Spellbomb. So really, I'm just taking up this Tamiyo and maybe hoping they don't have another Bowmaster. We'll see. This has turned out to be a surprisingly close game for how it felt my one land living on a prayer opening hand. Let's see what they're doing here. Cracking a clue, sure. If they crack another clue, they'll flip the Tamiyo. Maybe they're trying to avoid flipping Tamiyo, almost. I just have to keep upticking mine. It's not worth it to downtick, even if it clears the Spellbomb, because the Spellbomb, I don't know, I just don't want that. Okay, they're passing. Their Tamiyo is going to attack. I feel like when this trigger hits a Tamiyo, you should gain a life. It should go to -1 power. I guess it does show -1 power, but where I'm from, you gain a life when that happens. Maybe there will be a rules change one day. They won't ban Entomb, they won't ban Balustrade Spy, but they'll make Tamiyo gain you a life when it's at -1 power. Okay, so they're gonna flip this. It's not looking great. They are going to be able to recoup cards from their graveyard if that's what they choose. And they have plenty of clues. They can draw both clues next turn. So, still behind. Still trying to live the dream of this multi-5 win. And, you know, honestly, again, it comes back to that sequencing. If I had sequenced a bit more properly on that turn where the Saga popped, I might have a Nadu. Well, sometimes you just get lucky. Okay, is it worth it to play out the Illusionist first? I think so. Because I'll still be playing around days. They would have to have double days. You know, I don't think it is, because they have the Spellbomb. They're just not worried about Illusionist. Let's just go for it. Do you have yet another Force of Will? All right. Oh my god. So, oh my god. This is feeling amazing. My opponent says GG's. GG's. So close. Wow. Oh. Man, that was an incredibly lucky game. From the multi-5 to getting lands in the exact sequence that I needed. I needed, you know, a basic plains basically on that turn 2 to be able to cast Nomads and guarantee the next turn I would have 3 mana. To them not having removal, then I had to daze or consider dazing so that I could continue with the 3-drop. And then they had to force my daze. I think that exchange, while it feels like a long time ago, was really what drew me to close enough to even to be able to come back and get this. And I was even able to have what I would consider to be a blunder along the way. And wow, that feels good. So I'm gonna play for another trophy here. Hopefully this time I can seal the deal. All right, here we are in the trophy match against the trophy leader. I'm not quite sure how you say this person's name, Wing Zero. They play Sneak and Show. I played them very recently, and I did beat them. Hopefully I can beat them here. So they're on the play. This hand was really good. I do consider Sneak and Show to be favorable. I do not consider Omni-Tell to be favorable, but the difference there is that if you have to show and tell and then possibly pass the turn, you open yourself up to like me putting in a Nadu when I have a Nomads in play. And that's just better than your Atraxa or your Emrakul, because I can possibly win the game before you get to do that. I don't know what they're doing here. It's oh yeah, I saw them play this card earlier. So they have this card that will give them 2 extra mana. I'm sure they'll use that to cast something busted next turn. I'm gonna fetch a Surveil land, and I'll likely Brainstorm, hopefully find another counter spell. But it's hard for these decks to have everything because, right, let's picture their 5-card hand. So they don't need any more mana. They have the mana to cast Show and Tell. They have the mana to cast Sneak Attack. But then they would have to have still not only that card as one of their 5, they would have to have the thing to put in to make that an actual threatening card and some sort of counter spell to back it up. I don't need another Cephalid Illusionist. But Magic Online would really like me to have another Cephalid Illusionist. Let's cast Brainstorm. All right. Put back Oracle, put back Plow. I think. I don't think there's any way I want to not have Oracle in the graveyard. The real question is, do I play into Daze by playing Nomads? And I don't think I do, because next turn I can play my combo, and if I play my combo into Daze, well, then I can force their Daze. But if I Force a Will their Show and Tell or Sneak Attack, and then they Daze that, I'm out of luck. So it's always better to use your Force of Wills or Dazes on your combo to back up your combo rather than fighting theirs. All right, here comes something crazy. Show and Tell. I would really prefer that you not have that. So I'm going to force. They have Force of Will. All right, so I'm going to put in a Cephalid Illusionist. Hope that they're putting in like Emrakul. Oh no, they have Omniscience. Okay. And they have Emrakul. All right, lost this game. Okay, that's tough. I have to win 2 games in a row. Definitely a tough matchup. So all the forces come in. Consign, maybe. This could be a 1-ring deck. I think I'm going to wait for them to show me that. I'll bring in Needle. And I'll bring in Cavern. They could have Magus of the Moon. That's something to look out for. I definitely don't want Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending. And I have one more cut. May just be like a Tameo. I'll try 61. Actually, having thought about it a second longer, I'll cut Memory's Journey. All right, well, gonna have to earn this trophy if indeed that's in the cards. Yes, I will be on the play. Yes, I will keep. It's a pretty rough hand, but 2 Ponders is good. The Narcomoebas can be pitched to Force of Will, assuming I find such a card. So even though it has a lot of bad cards in hand, it's not as bad on its face as it looks. Still no counterspell, but I'm liable to keep this because if I can resolve the Nomads next turn, then they actually really can't. So I'll put Nadu on bottom and do that. And last time I played this player, they had a very respectful hand of my combo. And if I can punish that by, for instance, having uncounterable cards, I'm good with that. So I'll cast the Ponder. I definitely want to try to hit the Nadu next turn. That was really perfect, actually. So I'll do this, and I'll play Shuko. And the reason why I'm playing Shuko here is I already know underneath the Nadu is another land. So if Nadu resolves, that land is going to enter play, and then I can cast the Nomads. And I really just have to hope that they don't have an immediate show and tell this turn. But it's usually unlikely against it's unlikely that they would have it turn 2. Not unheard of, but especially given that this is game 2, they know I'm a blue deck, they know I have forces and stuff. They would really have to be rolled up to jam into that. But let's see. I think this is the game here. If they have a quick show and tell, they might. They very well might. Okay, they're passing the turn. I do think they play Disruptor Flute. I think that happened to me last match against them. So that's probably what's happening here. I will certainly let them do it. And then if they do have show and tell, then I can put in Nomads. Some sort of delay here. Here we go. So tapping 3 mana, maybe for a Braid. Untimely Malfunction, sure, cool. All right, so they're gonna get another turn. But I do have Nomads. I'm drawing a land next turn. If they show and tell, I can put that in, which won't feel amazing, but something. All right, they're brainstorming. I wonder if next turn it would be worth it to cast Tamiyo without the Cavern in the hopes that they might counter it. I guess let's see what they do here. They could just show and tell right now. All right, this Ponder is likely just to shuffle. And sadly, the fact that they haven't killed me means I do think that counterspell is likely. I think what I'm going to do here is actually instantly fetch a Surveil land. I want the information about what I'm drawing before I do anything this turn. So I'll get Hedge Maze. I'm drawing another Nadu. I don't think I really need that. Let's put it in the graveyard. Show me the Force. They could also have Disruptor Flute. Yep, they have Force of Will. So now what I just have to hope for is that they don't have it next turn, that I draw another combo piece, and that Tamiyo can recoup any sort of card parity that I'm experiencing here. So let's see. Uh-oh. Yep. I'll put in an Archamoeba, and they have an Atraxa. That's pretty uneven there, I would say. I found Force of Will. Yikes. And sadly, since this has Vigilance, there will never be a window where I can attack safely with my Tamiyo. Dang. Man, I'm going to lose another one here. That feels bad. But let's see. I was well behind in the last game and pulled it off somehow. So they have Force of Will, Stock Up, City of Traders, Yggdrasil, and Fury. So let's see if I can adjust. All right, Fury. So they're probably just going to hit my Nadu. This trigger feels pretty underwhelming. Dread Return. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. And Nomads. Oh. Well, let's trade this Tamiyo for a card. They'll gain 7 life for their pleasure. I'll attack with my Narcomoeba too. I will absolutely draw a card here because I could spike a Brainstorm or something like that. Hey, I did. And I'll definitely Brainstorm. They might have to force the Brainstorm. Though that's still probably a good enough play. They don't even really have to because they can just, you know, attack with they can kill the Tamiyo next turn with a Traxa. They're considering it, and they are following through on that, pitching Stock Up. So, yeah, that's pretty good. With that in mind, I'm just not even going to worry about days. I'm just going to hit this. So, okay, so they don't have Emrakul. They cast the Fury. They did force pitch Stock Up. They have City of Traders, Yggdrasil, and an unknown card. Is that correct? So, holding on to a glimmer of hope here, actually. They're surveilling, and they kept a card on top. So, that's pretty scary. Thankfully, these Narcomoebas can chump for a bit, if there's even a bit left to be played in this game, which I fear that there's probably not. They have Yggdrasil. Exile all creature cards from your graveyard. Okay, so they can use this right now even to kill... well, they're actually just going to succeed in killing Narcomoeba. Because what will happen here is they're going to put the damage probably on both, but I can put all the damage here. Now this thing has haste, so I just have to click this twice. I always like to do it an extra time just in case. Okay, so this resolves. I still keep my Nomads, and I still keep the Dream alive. But it's looking really bad. So if I don't top deck Nadu now, this isn't dying this turn. This is sticking around, and so I have to chump. Force a negation. All right, so we have to double chump and just hope to draw. Well, actually, it's not a double chump, right? Because what I can do is... let's see. This might be an interesting situation with double strike. So I have to block here and here. And unfortunately, I think that this is not going to work because this is going to die in first strike damage. And then in normal damage, I think it's going to hit Nomads for 3. Pretty sure that's how this is going to work. But let's see. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that worked how I thought. And now it really just has to be Brainstorm. Brainstorm is the only acceptable top deck. And that Brainstorm has to hit both combo pieces. So sadly, it looks like another trophy run is going to stall out here in the final match. Now there's an Emrakul underneath this. Yeah, GG. I got them earlier, but they got me here. So anyway, that was a rough finish to that one, and I don't know if I would have played that second game differently. I think that's an overall favorable matchup. sneak and show, but sometimes it just doesn't line up. And clearly they had good hands both times. You can see behind my little added to your collection thing here, they are the trophy leaders. So definitely someone who I'd be earning a victory against. So anyway, thank you for watching.